Ora, muito bem-vindos ao Up&Under, programa do Fair Play dedicado ao rugby internacional e um bocadinho ao nacional. Hoje temos connosco 3 convidados especiais, eu começo em português, mas o programa vai ser todo em inglês, apesar aqui do Biukis está no Brasil e perceber bem português e falar também. E o José Rodrigues um pouco, conhece o jogador do Colulo. Biukis Kremer jogou pela seleção do Brasil e agora está neste momento retirado. E o André Pierre Cronje, ou AP Cronje, é um jornalista sul-africano que vive em Londres e que tem escrito sobre o rugby sul-africano para alguns sítios. So, we're going to start now speaking English, so everybody can understand our guest. So I'll say a huge hello to the three of you, José Rodrigues.
Hello, man.
Yeah, man, how are you? AP Cronje, who I like to talk a lot in Twitter. He's a very good writer and has a lot of good ideas and speaks. He covers a lot of space for the South African players that live outside and also the internal competitions. And Biukis Kremer, who played for the Brazil national team some years ago, 1 or 2 years ago, I'm not sure of it, but he is South African, so he lives there and can say to us what I think about the box setup for this season. So the main objective of today is to make a bit of magic. We're trying to guess who is going to be on the list tomorrow for the Springboks squad that's going to be called up against the Lions. I'm going to start with Mr. Cronje. There's a special player that you want to be there, that you think he deserves a spot. For me, it's a bolter, but for you, it's not a bolter. It's a well-deserved place. Can you say the player?
Yeah, of course. So anybody who's been following me will know that I'm a big Jasper Wiese fan. He plays for the Leicester Tigers. He's been, I think, phenomenal over the last season for them since moving from the Cheetahs. And I think actually we were talking just before we went on air that earlier today, I think Dwayne Vermeulen's managed to injure himself. And so he might be touch and go whether he'll be ready for the squad announcement tomorrow. And so that's why I think a guy like Jasper Wiese really does sort of merit a call up. So he's one guy, as you say, you might think of him as a bolter. I wouldn't even call him a bolter. I just think he should be there.
So it's Jasper Wiese is a player who has to be there. José, I know you are from South Africa. You came to Portugal. You are divided, but you like better the All Blacks. This is not a lie because I know you a lot. But the Springboks, for you, who has to be on the list that deserves the spot?
I would say honestly a player that has a lot of abilities to play a lot of positions, because I think it's going to go a lot about experience in this squad that's going to be chosen. So I think like a guy like Frans Steyn should probably give him another chance to play. I think he will be a good ability to cover so much positions in the back, And another thing, he's got a big foot as well to kick to the posts. That's going to be very vital in these type of games, But yeah, I would say Frans Steyn because, he's a little bit old, but I think he's got all the experience for this upcoming games.
So, Frans Steyn would be a good choice.
Yes,
Biukis,
of course.
Because you played on the backs. Does Steyn feature in your squad list if you could pick one? Let's see because Biukis was a bit of delay. Do you hear the question?
Eu não estou conseguindo ouvir. Ele está aqui, pera. Não.
Ok.
Me dá 2 minutos, eu volto em 2 minutos.
Okay.
Eu vou sobre num lugar que eu acho que tem internet melhor. Me dá 2 minutos.
Okay. So he's out for the moment. Mr. Cronje, I'll pass the question to you. Steyn was a problematic player in the Springboks because he was out, in and out. But do you think that he deserves a spot to play against the Lions this season?
Yeah, I think so. I think exactly as you say, because it's the versatility that we talked about. And I think one of the things he brings is the fact that not only is he, able to kick for post and he has that very good boot that he can clear with. I think the other thing as well is that he can cover fly half, center, and fullback. So we know that the Springbok match day 23, we know that they like to go for a setup where they have 6 forwards on the bench and then 2 backs on the bench. So if one of those backs on the bench is a scrum half, that means you need one guy who covers the rest of the back line. And there are very few players in South Africa, and I think in rugby in general, who are versatile enough to be able to cover the entire back line. And so he happens to be one of those players, which is why I think he's pretty crucial for South Africa in the series going forward. And I'd be very surprised if he wasn't there.
So, but it can be a surprise not being there. Or think that the Springbok coach will not drop Steyn.
No chance. Yeah, no, I can't see it happening. I think we'll see the same centers that went to the World Cup. I think they'll all go. So you'll see as the main two centers, you'll see Damien de Linden and Lucanio Am. And then your sort of backup centers, I think you're going to see Francois Stay and Jesse Kriel be involved. And remember, they're naming a 45-man squad, so you can almost go for your third choice centers. And I think it's probably going to be a guy like Andre Estes and then Wandisile Simelane at the Lions.
Okay, that's a good. You gave all two names to us, Jose. You talked about experience. Mr. Cronje spoke about the versatility that a player can bring. Who you think is going to miss this squad that we are not prepared to hear his name being left out?
Man, I honestly, to think about it, I think like there's a lot of young talent as well. Guys like Cohen Bosch, I really like him as well. But I don't think he'll make that squad because of his age. He's a little bit young, not experienced in playing in the number 10 or any jersey in South Africa. So I'd say maybe like a guy like Cohen Bosch, which would also be a good player in the squad, should probably miss this, I think.
I think you talked with you, AP, about Corvin Bosch. You think he's going to miss this chance? He's going to be passed by others?
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, but I'd agree. I think he might be the guy who's like a big name who misses out. So it'll depend on whether the Springbok coaches choose 3 fly-offs or 4 fly-offs. So we know that Handré Pollard and Elton Jantjies are the first choice 2, which means there'll definitely be space for 1 more guy in the squad, but whether there's space for 2 more. So if there's space for 2 more, Cohen will go, him and probably Morné Steyn. But if there's only space for 1 of them, then that's the question: is do they take Morné Steyn or do they take Cohen Bosch? And I tend to agree with you. It might be that his inexperience counts against him. He's not had his best form this season as well. So I think you might be right, Jose. I think if there's a guy who would miss out, it might be Cohen Bosch.
Do you think there's an other player who can miss, who will miss the squad for the Lions?
From my perspective, it's difficult to say. You're more looking at who's going to make it in, because ultimately you look at that World Cup squad and then you just add players to that. Rassie in this press conference, I think 2 weeks ago, a week and a half ago, he basically made it clear that the guys who went to the World Cup are sort of the ones that they'd be looking at. I think that if there was someone from that squad who might be in danger of missing out, it might be someone like Vincent Koch. So Vincent Koch plays the Saracens, but he's obviously not been playing top flight rugby. Yeah. So whether that will count against him when you have someone like Wilco Louw, for example, who also plays tight head, who's been playing very, very good rugby at the moment for Harlequins, So if there's one guy I think from that World Cup squad who might fall out, it might be Vincent Koch.
Okay, Vincent Koch, it'd be interesting to miss, but you said Wilco Louw is doing an excellent season this year, and not this year, only this year. After the World Cup, he's been outstanding. Unfortunately, the Super Rugby season last year finished mid-term, and he was doing very fine for the Stormers. Some other names like Tyler Green. You think he has a chance to come from the Harlequins to play in the Lions?
Yeah, so Tyrone Green's another one of those guys who's unbelievably talented and versatile and can, he covers your entire back 3. The only problem is you sort of think to yourself, who are they going to leave out if they're going to put him in? You've got a guy like Up&Under Quem who's similar in that he covers 15 and wings, and he's been domestically based, which tends to give you a little bit more of a line in. So he'd be a real bolter. I think he wouldn't look out of place there, but I think a guy like Up&Under Quem might have an inside line ahead of him.
I
Jose,
totally agree.
you agree, yeah, because you came from the Sharks Academy, so you have to be a Shark. I think you
Of
are.
course.
But do you think Fassi has a real chance to come in to play for the Springboks against the Lions?
I think probably not. This will probably be a team based on experience more. Yeah, there's a lot of young talent. Like I said earlier, you got all these guys like Cohen and Fassi, and you got like more younger guys, Styling Green, all those guys coming in. That's probably next generation, you know. So yeah, I think probably he's gonna miss that. They'll choose guys like we also have another guy like Johan Goosen that's been playing really well. Probably also a guy to look at to bring in. But yeah, I honestly think Mfasi no, because of a little bit young as well, like Cohen, you know. Yeah, they're very good, but I think they're a little bit young for now.
So young people will miss the squad. Is that what you're saying, both of you? That the youngsters won't have that shot that they could deserve?
It's a tricky one. I think because they're naming a 45-person squad initially. So tomorrow, 45 players will be announced, and then that squad is going to be trimmed down later to probably around 36, 37. So I think that we might see some young players involved in the 45-man squad. I think that you might see someone like Fez and Bartard Hooker, for example. But on the whole, I agree, though. I think that on the whole, we're going to see a squad which is mostly experienced, particularly in the back row. You know, the amount of quality at loose forward that South Africa has. So, so that's my sort of thinking as well, is that we might see one or two young guys coming through, but for the most part, it's going to be experienced guys.
Jose, what do you say?
I totally agree, because the Springboks hasn't been playing together since 2019. So for them to go and put a lot of new young guys together, try to click like that, it takes time, you know. It takes a lot of time together, a lot of young guys together to play good rugby. And yes, of course, the guys are playing some good rugby at the level and the clubs and stuff, but Springboks is just another upper level that you need to be playing based on experience, you know. And yeah, that's what I say.
Bukis, I think you are on with us.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now yes.
You're welcome.
Perfect.
Well, we're talking about the selection and some players. The first question I made for Cronje and Jose Rodrigues was easy one. Do you think there's possibly a bolter in the squad? So someone who comes, a new guy that no one has foreseen, he will play for the Springboks.
Well, I don't know of anyone that would jump in, but I'm sure Rassie and the guys always like to play around with these type of things. I mean, we've seen it, that they always come up with something new and different. So I'm sure they're looking at it. And when you looked at the trial camp that they had when they were calling players across before the COVID, or when COVID started, they had some players where they called up. That was kind of a bit of surprising, but obviously them looking at different things. So I think there will be some surprises coming up. But mainly, as they said, as Andre and Jose said, I think it will be a way more experienced group as to an unexperienced group, just because of the lack of time that they had together and so forth. So I think it will be pretty much the same as the World Cup, not too much different.
Okay, so it's on the same point. So everyone, it's locked on. Andre, you talked in this past 2 weeks about the Dupree's brothers. They're playing very well in the Premiership, but I saw your squad and they're going to miss it. You think? No, you put them in, but you think they deserve to be in? Do you think they can bring something completely different to the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I selected my sort of squad that I think will be chosen. I think I'd be surprised if both of them made it in. I think it'll be either Dan or Jean-Luc. And you know, it's difficult to look at them as players without, you know, comparing them, because obviously they are twins and they play in the same team and they play in the back row and they're a very similar role. It's impossible for me to split them. I think over the course of the season, Dan has been playing the better rugby, but in the last few weeks, Jean-Luc's form has just been absolutely outstanding. And we know that Rassie's, you know, he likes that sort of Peter Steff, de Toey type player who can, you know, covers lock and back row, blindside. And I think when the Dupree twins left, well, when all three brothers left the Sharks, they've improved like a lot as players since they've gone to Sale. I think particularly the twins though. They've always been physical, but they've added to that, work rate, those soft skills. And I just think that they understand their roles a bit better. I think that at times when they played in South Africa, they were just a bit one-dimensional. They just wanted to be crash ball options, but now they're a lot more rounded. So yeah, I think definitely one of them will get in, potentially both.
If you had to pick one of them, who would be?
Yeah, yes. Now I knew you were going to put me on the spot like that. I think just on the season overall, I'd actually say Dan, which I think is probably, I'm in the minority of people who would say that, but I think that overall he's had the better season.
Jose, do you agree with?
I totally agree with what he's saying. In the Sale Sharks, he's been playing really well. Dan, I think he scored in the other game. He scored like 2 tries. In one game that was really good. So yeah, I think he's the stronger one at the moment, the more consistent player at the moment.
Bukis, are you a Dan or Jean-Luc?
Well, I'm a bit more personal to them, right? Because we're involved with the family so far, so I know them a bit more personally. We were when we were at schools, watching them playing at schools, we all said Jean-Luc will be the one going further in rugby, and Dan was playing second row at that time. And then, but Dan was always the more flary player as such, and Jean-Luc always was the one heading up straight out, just running hard at the guys, nothing too much skill. So Dan was the more skillful one, and actually his father and mother both back said Dan will go further. But yeah, so for me, honestly, for both of them can be. I mean, I think they're both of them playing a perfect role. What I understand is that Dan is playing a bit more flary game, a bit more of an 8th-man role type of thing, a bit better than Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc's a bit more direct, and that's been his characteristics. But I think both of them can be there. It's just going to be tough on Rassie, depending on how he wants to go forward with everything.
So it's going to be a big decision in the forwards, mainly in the prop area. Matt Vaurier is no more. So who's going to take the shirt on? And I want to hear about your opinions. And for hooker, Mimonemi or Malcolm Marx, who's in Japan? Jose, your turn to start.
I say with Beast retiring, I think a good guy that would take his position would be Kitshoff from the Stormers. He's been playing really, really well. Then you obviously have to look at someone who's going to replace Kitshoff in the bench, and then you have guys like and Yakanye and all those guys that also been playing well in South Africa now. So I would put Kitshoff for Beast, and then for hooker, I would definitely go with Malcolm Marx. He's always been a favorite player for me. Very aggressive. Lineouts is always really good, and his rugby in Japan has been. I think it was like a good experience for him to get that side and just stay fit and be ready for the Lions tour that's coming up now. I think Malcolm will be good there.
Kitshoff and Malcolm Marx.
Yes.
Would you change anything?
No, I would go Kitshoff and Malcolm Marx as well. I don't think there's too many different things that you can make. I mean, there's some interesting props coming through. I mean, there's some youngsters coming through at the Sharks. I think we might look at that youngster. I don't remember his name now. The new beast that they call him. The youngster that's really coming in. I think he might get a bit of a call up to get a bit of experience, not maybe playing, but getting into the group maybe. But I mean, there's lots of exciting props coming through. So I think Kitshoff still stays and Mark stays.
AP, you go with them?
Yeah, no, I'd agree. So I think Kitshoff is absolutely going to start at loosehead. I think the guy who comes onto the bench is the interesting one. And it's going to be one of two players. It's going to either be Lizo Gaborka from the Bulls, or it's going to be Oxenchair from the Sharks. And it's sort of been between those two for a long time. So I wouldn't be surprised that both are named in the 45-man squad, and then one of them is then cut when it becomes a 33 or 36-man squad or whatever it's going to become. So, and then at hooker, well, I mean, the Boks have an absolute luxury in that they've got both Bongi Mbonambi and Malcolm Marx to choose from. And both are, I mean, they play very similar but also quite different roles. So Malcolm Marx perhaps a bit more direct, brilliant over the ball. Bongi Mbonambi brings you a little bit more handling as a link player. But yeah, I mean, those two will definitely, and I'm sure that the Boks, management will sort of rotate them and manage their workload and just try and get the best out of both of them. But I mean, if they're fit, it's going to be, the entire line series will be played, at hooker anyway by those two.
Okay, so, but in the prop area, where some people say is where the Springboks can win the series. Are you rested on that, or you think there can be some problems this year because of the COVID situation that stopped rugby for a bit and restarting and rebuilding everything?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I think I mean, so obviously South Africa hasn't played since the World Cup final, which, some people have said it won't impact them. Some people have said it will impact them. And I think that I'm more of the opinion that it will. I think there's no way that you can be out of professional rugby at that level and not playing together and not have it impact you, which is also another reason that I think Rassie's probably going to pick a squad which is very similar to the one that we saw in the World Cup, because he's going to want to go for that type of continuity, at least the guys who sort of know each other. So, yeah, I think that the rustiness is going to be a concern, obviously. They've got the 2 warm-up tests against Georgia in order to just sort of find this sort of feet a little bit. So it's going to be tricky for them. They're going to need to hit the ground running. But if there's one guy that that can get it right, it's probably Rassie and Jacques Nienaber, and I'm sure that they've got a plan.
Bukis, AP was talking about the Georgia games. Georgia has a very good reputation in the scrum area. Do you think Rassie scheduled the games because it was a very good warm-up preparation for the Lions?
Yeah, I think Georgia is a good option, man, because of the rugby, it's quite direct rugby. Still, Georgians are still playing a bit of an old school type of rugby, in my opinion. So I think it's a very fair way to get a bit of confidence going and a bit of really testing your strengths as well with them. Obviously, you would be winning your scrums and your set phases with them, but I think it would give you a good competition, and Georgia would see this as an opportunity to go out and smash the South Africans. So it will really, really give the boys the opportunity to test themselves. But just on the opinion there, they'll be playing in Cape Town, right? So I think depending on what weather will come in Cape Town during the tests, I mean, he will have players from London. So if it's a wetty game, most probably you'll see the London the European players pop in more. As to if it's a dry weather game, we'll see maybe a bit of more South African playing a faster game. Maybe, I don't know. That's just my opinion and thinking.
Jose, it's your turn.
Yeah.
So the scrum, as I said before, is an important set of the year of the game, and this both games against Georgia can be a good warm up. But you think there's some worries that everything is a bit stale because no games in 2020? We think sorry.
Yeah. I honestly think, yes, of course, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. The guys haven't been doing a lot of scrums and lineouts and all those things together. But like AP was saying, we should all just trust Rassie. They got a plan what they're going to do. It was the same discussion we had in the World Cup about the physicality of the game and Springboks playing physical rugby, and then they came with a loose game and they won that World Cup, So if you look at the British and Irish Lions team, they selected guys there to play with the ball, not really aggressive players, So I think that Springboks should not be worried a lot about the scrums and stuff, and be more focused on the loose play and playing set pieces and all that. It won't be really honest. That's just my opinion. I don't think it's going to be that bit of a physical battle between the two teams, but more about experience and territory and all that.
AP is agreeing with you, totally with you.
Yeah, you can see me nodding. I completely agree. It's a really good point, I think. Identifying, just looking at the guys that they've picked, their loose forwards, I was shocked to see a guy like Sam Simmons picked. I mean, he's been so good, but I was genuinely surprised to see him included, and that just gives you an indication. Him and Jack Conan, and these types of players, even going for versatile flankers like Courtney Laws as well. So yeah, I agree with you that they're probably not going to play that arm wrestle game that we saw against Wales. They're going to try and bring something different. And I think the other thing we need to think is that actually the Boks are probably going to bring something different as well. Remember the last time that we've not seen a lot of Rassie Erasmus playing in South Africa. The best one that we really have is if we look at that test series against England. And actually, the Boks played some of their most attacking rugby in that test series. It was his first one in charge. We saw we saw that was, famously with Apiwa Dianti and Sabun Corsi in that series, just carving it up. So yeah, no, I think actually the Boks will bring something different as well, and we can expect to see some good rugby, hopefully.
You said something different as well as the Lions. Bukis, I'm going to pick this phrase that AP just said. What do you think it's going to be different from this Boks team? We talked it will emulate most of the things that came out from the World Cup, but a good point made by AP is that that test series against England, it was 2-1. I think the Boks won 2 games and lost the last one with not a beast team, but with a lot of changes in that match. But what do you think is going to be new in this squad in terms of gameplay?
I think the surprises might come, in my opinion, would be more just in set phases and maybe trick plays that he will manipulate the game. I think he's very sharp with manipulating the game at special moments. If you see in the World Cup, it was special moments that Rassie picked to make different things happen. I think if I knew what Rassie was going to do, it would be great, but I don't think anyone really knows.
Or definitely have a job for you if you knew what Rassie was going to do.
So yeah, I wouldn't be sitting here talking about who's probably with him. So, but yeah, it's going to be a suck out of the thumb if I tell you what I think. But in my honest opinion, I think we're going to see something different. I think it will be most probably set phases where we're going to see some fun stuff, and the rest of the things he will just put pressure. And I think if we do go 2-0 down, winning 2-0 in the first 2 games, I think the third game he will let go and then make his changes with the youngsters and experiment again, and we might then lose 2-1. But I think the 2 first tests is going to hit focused as much as possible.
Jose, if you could call something different from this Boks in the gameplay of the Boks this year, what would it be?
I'm gonna put myself into Rassie's shoes. Let's go.
You are a fly half that plays center and fullback. You have that mind. Please tell us what stuff different can the Boks do this year.
I think defense. I think the Boks can be more defensive aggressively. Yes, they've been having good defense in the World Cup and all that, but teams are expecting like aggression from the Springboks. That's why we're powerful, But I think like something different would probably be like not that much of a kicking game, more playing with the ball and like taking every single opportunity what they can get. Like a penalty, going to the touchline, trying to score a try, maybe do some different things like that. Not something that probably what the British Lions is going to expect.
So you're saying to me that it's going to be a very physical game, almost identical what happened in the final, or you think it's going to be completely different? Because
I think like the British Lions is going to expect, the coach is going to expect like more of a game that happened in the World Cup final. And I think Rassie, if he's clever, he would do something basically. Oh, sorry. He'll do something basically the opposite of what is expected, So probably it will be more a loose game the first game. Try some new set plays, like Bierkes was saying there, like try some new things and stuff. So yeah, that's where I think it will be a little bit different.
AP, you agree also with this?
Yeah, I think you look at some of the guys that have been rumored to be in the selection mix. So you look at someone like Roscoe Speckman, for example. Now, I mean, even like 2 months ago, no one would have picked that he'd be involved. And also guys named like Nico Janssen van Rensburg, who's playing in France at the moment for Montpellier. These guys aren't, their selection shows that the Boks are thinking about things, or the Boks coaches are thinking about players and players' roles in a different way to what we all are. So at the end of the day, it's just speculation from us. It's really, really difficult to tell, because when I see names like Roscoe Speckman and Nico Janssen van Rensburg that no journalist was talking about, no fans were talking about, and then suddenly you hear that they're called up to the national lineman camps, and you go, yeah, no, you just know that they've got things in play, that they've got some plans that they're putting together. Listening to Jacques Nienaber speak about a week and a half ago, his big thing was basically coming with plans and ways to work things out, and I think that's what he brings, I think Rassie is obviously a brilliant director of rugby and coach, but I mean, him combined with Nienaber permanently looking for new ways to innovate. And I completely agree that I think that we're going to see it more within the small things. So within how, the lineouts, or within the mauls, or within the scrums, within the set, the tight areas, that's where we're going to see our innovations, like the maul that they had planned in the World Cup final, that midfield maul that they've been keeping hidden for months and months and months to use in that final. So things like that, I expect we can see these types of innovations as well.
I just want to compliment on that. I just think it's a funny thing because Rassie, until in the warm-up he plays games. In the warm-up you think he did it in the final, I think, with Faf and them. They were just kicking ball for half an hour in the final before the game. They were just kicking ball, so as if it was going to be the same type of game that they played Wales. So you really, really don't know what's going to happen, man. Even in the warm-up you can't see what's going to happen. So it's going to be like, I just think it's going to be a fun time.
No, definitely.
A fun time, it is a good word to describe a Rassie Erasmus team. Bukis, going to the backs now, we know that Andre Pollard is going to be the fly half if everything goes on schedule, so no injuries and so on. But who's going to be on his shadow? You think Jantjies will be in it, or someone new will take the number 21 shirt?
Well, the new one, I was going to look at, help me guys. 22, but the guy from the Stormers, he unfortunately injured his knee. The very first game he plays against the Sharks, a young bloke, he was looking super well. I just don't remember his name.
At fly-off?
Yeah, he was the first game.
Rhiannon, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was him.
Yeah, it's
super
either
blondish guy, super good guy, but unfortunately got injured. I think he's something for the future to look at. And then Kerwin Bosch, although he's a grey boy, I'm also a grey boy, so I just think Kerwin Bosch is a bit too light in the pants. I don't think he's getting that X factor across to go the next level. Is a bit of a Derek Howard type of player. I think will be a good Rainbow Nation Cup player, but I don't think he's got the step up for the box. So I think Jantjies will come back. I think they will stay with Jantjies. I don't think they will drift off too far with him. And then if Morné Steyn is lucky, he would be the third choice, just to make sure that you experience there. That's just my opinion, but I don't know.
Jose, 3 options for fly half or 2 options for this series?
I think 2 with Francois Steyn.
True.
Okay.
There you go. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Don't think
no.
I
I think we're going to see 3 in the 45-man group, which will go down to 2, and obviously have Francois Steyn covering. And I agree with you. I think we're likely to see, Pollard and Jantjies, and then they'll go for the experience. Pollard, Jantjies, and then the experience of Morné Steyn, as their third choice, and then he'll probably fall out when you get to the actual 3 lines tests.
Yeah, exactly.
Jose, but you think Jantjies still has it to be on the Springboks squad for a tight series against the Lions?
I think honestly, I do follow him on Instagram, so I see a lot of things where he gyms and he's in these boys busy working out and all that. So I really like Jantjies, his play style and everything, and I like the fact that he's got that role at the Lions as well. But I think like for him, defensive wise, like earlier Bekus was talking about Kerwin Bosch. Like you need someone on 10 that can really defend well. Like Jantjies is not always the best consistent attacking player, but in defensive wise, he's always strong. And that's why a guy like Kerwin is a little bit light in his pants. He will not be good in the 10 position defending that option there. So I think like a guy like Jantjies would be a good second choice after Andre Pollard. Perfect.
So Pollard, we all agree. Jantjies, it's a go-to. In the centers is going to be a good battle. I know AP is a follower of Damian de Allende, who is playing beautifully for Munster this season, against all odds that I thought of, because I think he wouldn't go well in Ireland, but he's being brilliant. So who is going to play at number 12 and 13? Is it going to be the same as a World Cup for you, Bukis? It's going to be Allende with Lukamian.
I think they will start with the Linde and AM, and then I think Jesse Kriel is back now as well. So I think Jesse Kriel might be getting a bit more game time. Maybe I think there's going to be an option between AM and Kriel, but I think AM will start as well. I think the two of them had a good game. AM has been struggling a bit at the Sharks. I haven't seen too much of him really getting into his shape and play the way he used to play. So it depends on how Kriel's moving. So I think it all depends on how everyone will fit into the group as they come together, and Rassie will go with that.
Jose, do you think someone new can come for center, or these three options, it's enough?
I think from my point of view, I think like those three options are enough. But if I was the coach, I would put Jesse Kriel before Lucanio. And like Bekas was saying, Lucanio wasn't really on his best form this season. And Jesse Kriel, he's been playing really good rugby in Japan and coming back and stuff. So I think he's been fit, also training really well and stuff. So I think like Jesse Kriel would be sorry, my camera's falling off again. Yeah, Jesse Kriel and Damon Allende. That would be a good starting option for the first game.
Okay. Cronje, do you go with them?
Yeah, I think, look, we all know Damien will start at inside centre. And I think that at outside, it's going to either be Lucanio Arm or it's going to be Jesse Kriel. I think what people forget is going into the World Cup, it was still 50-50. It could have been either, because they played both of them in the Rugby Championship, and then obviously Jesse got injured, and it was obvious, and Lucanio Arm's taking that moment. But I think, they'll both be in the squad, and so whoever starts will be whoever performs best in the squad, I'm sure. So it'll be either Lucanio Arm or Jesse Kriel. And I think another guy who'll probably be included in the original squad, or there's two more centres I think will be included in the original squad, and I think we'll see them play against Georgia or potentially the SAA game, is Andre Esterhuizen, who we know is sort of like the second choice inside centre. And I'm taking Frans Steyn out of this equation because I'm saying he's more like this utility, unit can go anywhere. So I'm not counting him specifically in this. I'm saying that if you have a guy like, let's say Damien de Linde gets injured tomorrow, and touch wood he doesn't, but if he gets injured tomorrow, you're going to start Andre Esterhuizen at inside centre. He's the most like-for-like change that you have. He's the same type of player. The guy, we know that South Africa like a big, aggressive inside centre, crash ball option off the line out, off of set piece first phase, gets you go forward, and you get your forwards around the corner. So I think he'll be in the 45-man squad. And then another guy is Wandisile Simelane. Like, we know that the book coaches rate him really highly. He's been in and around the national discussion for a long time. He was supposed to make his debut last year before COVID, absolutely stuffed everything up. I mean, the plan was apparently to get him involved in that Georgia game that they were going to play, Georgia and Scotland. So we know that he is in the framework and that he's probably going to be one of the guys selected as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Andre Esterhuizen and Wandisile Simelane in the 45-man squad.
But who's going to start for you?
No, to start, Damien de Linde for sure.
And
I'd say on current form, Jesse Kriel.
Okay, so a bit different from the World Cup. Jesse Kriel comes in, and at the back three, it's always special. Some people want Mapimpi back, but I don't think. Do you think he's going to come back for this Lions tour, or you think he's out?
No, I think he'll be there. I think he has a very, very special relationship with Rassie as well. Like, on a personal level, I think they have a good bond. So I think he's a guy that Rassie always backs. And a lot of the time it's difficult as well. Like, as I said, we're going to need to try and find a squad, or the Springboks need to find a squad that is going to bond in a very short space of time. So if you've got this guy that's walked this path with you throughout the World Cup, you don't know maybe the type of influence he has in the wider team environment, and having him there might be really useful to get that cohesion. So there are a lot of those other elements that we're not privy to and we can just speculate about. But I think I'd be very surprised if I didn't see Makazole Mapimpi in that squad. But having said that, a guy like Sabu Nkosi, it's difficult to keep him out of the starting lineup the way he's going. Or even someone like Madosh Tambwe at the moment is playing unbelievable rugby.
Okay, so I'm going to throw here the starting three at the back: Colby Mapimpi, Willie Leroux. Do you agree, Bukis?
I think Willie Leroux, we might see a bit of a difference. Maybe Fassi would jump in. It would be a gamble. But maybe Fassi from the Sharks. I'm just putting a spin. Obviously, I would go for, if it was me choosing the team tomorrow, I would say Willie Leroux on the fullback. Just because it does bring that X factor, and he understands really how to jump in and can get into a second phase, third phase, jumping into the 10 jumper very nicely. So on that sense, I would go with him, but I think we might even see some surprise with Fassi coming in.
Jose, Fassi or Willie Leroux or someone else?
basically, I'm coming back again to the experience. Like AP was saying earlier, you need that gel click from the back three. You need that relationship between the back three guys, because you need to communicate at the back, and people really need to trust each other. Kicking the ball away, passing, and all that. So I think Rassie will probably start with like Willie Ruru, with Cheslin and Mapimpi there, and probably we'll have a guy like Apela Fassi on the bench, probably replacing Willie for like injuries and all that, because I remember in the World Cup, Willie had an injury, right? And he was playing with an injury the last few games. And like, you can always bring a guy like Fassi if you have that situation again. We do basically the same thing,
Okay, I'm going to throw here a spin. And if Kobe goes to fullback, it will be wrong for the Springboks squad. Do you think Rassie wouldn't do this for these Lions years? AP, what do you think?
Yeah, so I wrote an article a long while ago, a few months ago now, saying that going forward it might be something to look at exploring is Colby at 15, just because we know what he offers. He can. The one thing that we really like about Billy LaRue is that he's exactly as we said. He can go into that 10 jumper off the third phase, and he can be first receiver, and he can put people away. His stats at the moment in Japan, I think he was like the top for most assists or whatever it was. So we know that he can play that function, and I know that Colby can do something similar.
Oh, what's a bit? He'll come back in the minute.
At least it's not just Brazil's internet.
So I was talking about he's coming back. Wait, and he's okay.
Back again.
You're demoted.
Well, yeah, no, sorry. No, I was just saying that, I think that Colby can have that same function as LaRue going forward. But having said that, he's so lethal on the wing. The problem for you is, do you take him away from somewhere that he's doing so well? It's difficult. I think that they won't do it for the Lions series, put it that way. They might do it. They might explore it later down the line, but I think that we can expect him on the wing for the Lions.
Bukis, what about you?
Again, it's Rassie. So I don't think it would be a bad option if you put him at fullback, but I agree totally with Pierre here that it's better that we just stick with the back three that it is really Apron on the wing and so forth, but it's Rassie, so expect anything.
Expect anything. That's a good catchphrase for the box under Erasmus. Jose, I've been talking with you for years about Colby, how great of a player he is. But when he was on the Stormers, he was always looked outside of the box. Yeah, overlooked. Thank you, Bukis. And came to Europe, and from that moment on, he caught fire. You think him going to fullback with Nkosi and Mapipi at wings would be a good choice against the Lions?
Man, honestly, I think he's been on fire on the wing. AP was saying there, you don't take someone away. We're really playing well on that position. Take him away. It's also not good for the player as well. I think Cheslin enjoys playing wing as well. He's been playing really good games there, and he's happy there. And South Africa's got so many other positions, so many other players that can swap with Willie. Why would you want to take a guy like Cheslin and put him at the back if you have other players that can play 15? And it's a lethal threat, man. It was working in the World Cup. It worked in the final with those back three there, and it's just something you have to trust again. We as the people watching need to trust Rassie's situation, Rassie's system.
Okay, so we picked almost the starting 15. Who will you be on the bench? Who would you pick? 6 forwards, 2 backs, or 5 forwards, 3 backs? AP.
This is where I think we might see one of those Rassie things. Everybody thinks there's going to be 6-2, 6-2. It's going to be forward dominance, and then they might throw in a complete different
7-1.
Yeah, 7-1. No, I think. If it's 6-2, it's going to be fairly predictable. It'll also depend on whether you've got Archie Snyman and Archie Snyman and Louis Diago, if they're fit. If they're fit, I think they'll keep going with the 6-2. If they're not fit, then they need to think about it again. I think that you're going to have your props and your hooker, so that's your first 3, whoever that is. And then if it's 6-2, you're probably going to have the same as you had in the World Cup, Archie Snyman and Franco Mostert. And then obviously they had Francois Lowe as the other guy, but he's now retired. And I think a guy who covers the exact same role is Marcel Coetzee, because you can play him any position in the back row. So you've got complete cover in the back row, you've got 2 locks, and you've got a complete new front row. So your entire pack is covered. Then you're likely again to see probably Herschel Jantjies or Kobus Reinach in the reserve 9. We're assuming that Faf de Klerk starts. And then obviously your last player, if you're going 6-2, as we've said before, is Francois Steyn, because you need that person to cover the rest of the back line for you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, it's a good plan. Bukis, you think this plan works?
Yeah,
if,
I think
if we have Lodi Jager and Ibn Etzebeth on the squad.
Yeah, no. Look, if you have a 6-2 split, I think for the first game, I think Rassie might even go for a 6-2 split to make sure that up front is killing them. Because if we don't kill the English up front, it's going to be a long day.
The British,
I think
the British and Irish, the
English, the British Lions, the British Lions. If we don't kill them up front, we're going to have a long day. So I think it's where he's going to focus. For sure, he's going to focus there. And I think with all the backs that we have and the way that they can manipulate the back, I think it's not too much problem with Francois Steyn. They can offer you everything as well.
So, Jose, if it's 6-2, it's Herschel Jantjies and Francois Steyn, or you pick anyone else?
I would do a 5-3, because I think like the British Irish Lions would not really come with an aggressive game, playing a lot around the rucks and all that. Like I said earlier, if you look at the squad, what the coach shows from the British Lions, it's really like guys playing with the ball, like playing left, right, very loose with the ball, And if you like, I don't know, I saw something on the internet like Lodi Jager was really injured now. He's trying to get fit for these upcoming games. If he's not there, I think a good option would be 5-3. Play with 5 forwards, 3 guys in the back line. You can maybe put a guy like Lucanio Am or Jesse Kriel on the bench for a centre swap there with some wings, And it's a threat. You got Herschel Jantjies on 9. You got a centre maybe that can swap there with Franz Steyn as well. Franz Steyn can play centre, fullback, or any position there. So then you just have another extra backline player to choose from, which could slot other positions. I like 5-3 because it's more for a loose game, more not really physicality. But I don't think this upcoming games will really be count on physicality. Will be around. We can play the better rugby with the ball in hand.
So you started a question that I thought for this show today. The British and Irish Lions is a very different team of almost everybody thought of. Is a quicker team. We say in Portuguese elástica, so it's like they can bend at one point. They can go to the wing and come back quick and and with a very high tempo. AP, so you think the Boks have to bring something complete? I don't say completely new because what the Boks did in the World Cup was enough, but what they have to do against the Lions if they show up to a game that is not just physicality. It's going to be speed, quickness, guys like Sam Simmons running with the ball and so on.
Yeah, I think there's 2 ways of looking at this, right? So I think that obviously we know that they'll have a plan for whatever the Lions bring. But I think the main thing to realize is that the Boks can't be in a position where they're like, oh, what are we going to do to counter them? You need to impose your own game plan upon these guys. So I agree what Bierkes was saying in terms of, I think that they might go, okay, right, the Lions have got these really quick players who are, as you say, elastic, and they can respond well and they can stretch you. But ultimately, if you absolutely blitz them up front and you take away their pack, it doesn't matter how good your loose forwards are, and it doesn't matter how quick your back line is or how skillful. If you're getting no set piece, if you're getting no gain line, then it doesn't really matter. So it might be a case of the Boks go, right, we're just going to impose our game plan upon the situation. We'll go 6-2. We'll let you worry about countering our strength and not us worry about countering your speed. So that's one way they could go about it. Or the alternative is as Jose was saying, you could go 5-3 and you could yourself become a little bit more quick and play to that.
Bukis, do you agree with this?
Yeah, no, for sure. I don't think we might be looking at a squad that's running a bit more rugby with the British Lions. I don't think, in my opinion, it's a good option for them. if I was them, I would have played a bit more direct rugby. I just don't think the English or the European type of style gives you the ability to play that open, freely game that they want to play. And I think with them coming to South Africa, wanting to play an open, freely game is going to be a bit different. I think they might see themselves short in that option.
Jose, what's your take on this?
What the guys are saying is the truth. It's probably the British Irish Lions is probably trying to focus more on the open game. Probably maybe Rassie's plan is to dominate aggressively. Maybe it's something we're not expecting, like we talked about earlier. Maybe we want to play the aggressive game against them, even if they wanna. The thing is, it's the team who keeps the ball the longest. It's the team that's going to win at the end of the day. So if Rassie's plan is just for the guys to keep the ball and be aggressive and it works, then it's probably going to work, So we just have to sit back and just wait for this tour to happen to see what's going to happen,
What can't happen to the Boks, AP, in your opinion? What can't happen in game against the Lions?
What can't we allow to happen? Well, I would have said before the series, the thing that we can't let happen is have injuries to Dwayne Vermeulen, and now that seems to have happened. So I don't want to jinx anything more, but I think the one thing that you can't let happen is you don't want to be chasing the game against a Warren Gatland side, right? We know that Warren Gatland is an amazing coach, and he'll get his side to a position where they'll be able to close it out. So I don't think you can do the type of thing you did against Eddie Jones's England, where you can come from behind like they did in 2018. So the Boks need to, and also as well psychologically, you need to go ahead early. If we go back to 2009 and you look at the first test in 2009, the Boks won the test and they were very dominant in the first half, but they fell away a little bit at the end. So the Boks need to make sure that you get that lead, get that psychological victory ahead, and then so that's the main thing I say is you can't go behind early. You need to impose yourself early on.
Jose,
I'm gonna agree with what AP is saying. Against big games like this, you don't want to be behind. I don't. The Springboks shouldn't put themselves in that position at any chance in the game to be behind. Because Pierre's also saying, European rugby is the thing is those guys, they like keeping the ball, playing with the ball a lot. So if it gets to a point in the game where the British and Irish Lions are in front, probably Warren Gatland's going to change the game plan by keeping it, being more aggressive and try not Springboks to take the ball, So I think I'm going to agree with what AP is saying. Just try keep the score, be in front and not give any penalties away and all that, because the British Lions are going to punish the Springboks with penalties and
Bukis, you think the Boks is going to have the same mindset and game plan? So penalty to the poles while to build a good score, or you think they're going to spin out, go to the line out and try to score tries from the first minute? Oh,
I think we lost it.
It was a tough question, this one. If you want, AP, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that you'll see that. I think that, that's just Springbok rugby. You can play a different type of game plan, but the thing that doesn't change is that you take your points when they're on offer, you chip away, you build a lead. I mean, everything about South African rugby is to basically just keep suffocating, just keep that scoreboard pressure up, keep pressure at the set pieces, keep pressure on defense. So it's just a pressure game that eventually you break down the opposition after constant pressure. So keeping with that ethos, I mean, you've got Andre Pollard, who's an amazing kicker. You just take your points. You don't do anything fancy. You just build that scoreboard lead. I think that we're likely to see them continue to play like that.
Jose?
Yeah, that's...
Sorry.
No problem.
Okay.
That's that's a typical South African rugby. That's international rugby. If you look at all international games, that's what international teams do, is by them building. Doesn't matter if it's a kick from the 60 meters or a kick right in front of the post. You need to build a score. You need to get a position where your team feels comfortable playing the rest of the game. And that's by being in lead, being in front. So I think that's the option probably we're all gonna expect, and that's what we want. Hopefully that's what we get.
before we are finishing the show, I'll give you one question. A player that you want to have on the Springboks quad, a realistic player, so you can't go get Juan Smith or Bakis Bota, you can't, but a player that must be on the squad and can change the game from the bench. It's a hard question, but a player that can change the game from the bench. AP, you want to start or Jose?
AP, you can go. It's fine. I'm going to think a little bit.
Okay, yeah, no, for me, Marcel Coetzee, without a doubt. I think that what we saw against Wales in the semi-final in the World Cup is that it came down to one moment in the game, and at the 76th minute, where Francois Lowe came on and he made a breakdown turn, scored the thing and then won the game. So I think Marcel Coetzee is a guy who offers you that. I think he's been so unlucky with injury. He would have gone to the World Cup if it wasn't for his injury. Mm-hmm. He'll be on the bench because he covers that entire back row, and I can see him having an impact coming on as a carrier, coming on as a fetcher. So he's one guy that I'd back to come on and just do something special and have an impact on the game.
Jose.
A guy that I really like is Herschel Yankees. I think, Faf has been a really good number 9 at the Springboks. His jersey, he's going to retire with the 9 there. But a guy I would like to see is Herschel Yankees maybe getting a little bit more game time. Like, I think he's a game changer as well. He picks up the tempo of the game also so much quicker when a lot of people are tired. And I think Rassie, it will be a good choice to play him. He's a good guy, a good player coming on the field, especially like deep second half where people are tired, by him picking up the game, and he can change the game. We've seen him in so many games scoring 2-3 tries in international games. It's that's what number 9s do. But yeah, of course, Faf is going to be the starting. He's a better player, but I would like to see Herschel Yankees maybe play more game time.
Okay, actually, is a good choice because he's a very good player coming out of the bench. Bukis, you're on again.
I'm back.
I made one of the final questions for AP and Jose. A player that you must have in the squad, but that can change a game from the bench. AP said Marcel Coetzee, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. And Jose said Herschel Yankees.
I'm back in Francois today.
Yeah,
okay.
That's a good one as well.
but both of all the guys, what they're saying are fantastic guys. It's guys that can make a change. Marcel Coetzee for sure, and Herschel Yankees for sure. It's players that it's in their blood to do that. So
it's all good options for Swan can do a drop from the midfield and win the series.
You can go play flank if you need to play flank. It's big enough.
That's true. So we are looking to a Springbok squad very similar to what was in the World Cup, with maybe some bolters. AP said it's going to be a 46 squad, 45, and then it's going to be cut when the series starts. That is in late July. But until there, much can happen. So what's going to, for you, what you're going to want to see from this moment until the first test? Jose.
Difficult question. What I want to see. Well, obviously, you want to see the club games that's been going on. You want to see the players that might be playing, by them maybe resting now. You want them really fit for the upcoming games. And of course, you want it will be good to get the guys together as soon as possible so that they can start gelling and start clicking and knowing each other. Because the last time they played was since 2019, and for them to be together now would be a good thing right before the game's coming.
Bukis.
I think it's a good point that Jose said on the clubs there. I think it's going to be important for us to see where we stand really with our club rugby. I mean, our club rugby hasn't played international rugby for almost 2 years. So I think it's going to be a real good sense to see how is our club development going and see if the Bulls can keep up with their performances with all the Boks out of the team. That's going to be some interesting things to see how everything is going to move around with the Springboks being selected. So I think there's a lot of positives looking at coming up on this tour to really see how far we've gone behind, or have we moved forward, or are we okay still. So I think that was a good point.
Okay, AP.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the thing I'm looking forward to the most is just seeing some new names in the box setup. I think that the squad will be very similar, but I think that SAA game and the 2 games against Georgia, we'll get a glimpse of some new guys coming through as well, and some guys with a point to prove. There's so many talented guys who need to be cut from the 45-man squad to the 36. So there's going to be guys going out there like the 2 Dupree twins and Jasper Visa and these types of guys with a point to prove. So I'm interested to see what they can do in a Springbok setup.
Okay, so to wrap the things up, you want to send a message, an idea of what's going to happen tomorrow at when Rassie announces the team is going to be for the series against the British Irish Lions. Bukis.
Oof. No.
Keep the faith on Rassie, right?
Yeah, just Rassie and enjoy. I think it's going to be surprises. I think we're going to have some surprises tomorrow for sure. And we also know that I think the 22 that we know is going to be fine. I think it's the other 13 that's going to be the fun factor to look at and see what the ideas are about that. I don't think it's a problem with the team. I think it's trying to understand what they're looking at for the next World Cup and after, because they're obviously looking at those things as well. So,
Jose.
I think what's going to be surprising is the guys that will be chosen to replace the starting guys if they are injured. That will be an important role. Who's going to replace the guys when they get injured? And that's what we should try. I think it's going to be exciting tomorrow to see what will happen. What players will be chosen for the guys who get injured?
Mr. André Pierre Cronier, you to finish.
Yeah. The things that I was going to say. So no, but I think I just echo it both. Then I don't have much more to add. I just think trust the process, trust Rassie because he knows better than all of us, and he's proved that time and time again. So whoever he chooses, just assume it's right. I said on Twitter before, I was like, yes, Rassie can pick my under 15 B team prop, and I'll be like, no, yes, no, good decision. That no, I can see it. So no, I think that, and if there are guys injured, if Dwayne is out, if Luet and Archie are out, just trust the process. It'd be interested to see who comes in. We could see some new names, but we'll be good. The Boks will be competitive, and I think 2-1. I think 2-1 to the Boks.
2-1 to the Boks. Okay, you started with this hole, so we're going to go in it. Bukis 2-1.
Oh man,
it can end in a tie. Like
I hate these British blokes. I'm gonna go for the 3-0.
Yeah, man.
Now baiting, but 3-0.
Oh, Jose.
I'm gonna exactly say what Biekus is saying. 3-0 for Springboks.
3-0. Oh.
Yes.
No, then I changed it as well. 3-0. Why not?
So we recorded this on the 4th of June, and I'll remember when the series finish to see what you said. So
no, it's going to be now, but I don't think it's going to be like a smash walker in the park, but it's going to be tough. If we can nail get 3-0, it would be a great victory.
For sure.
Exactly.
It's going to be fun, I think, these British National Lions, because after a year that almost everything stopped, it's going to be completely different to see how the players are going to adjust, adapt, and retouch themselves in the test match, because the Springboks missed a year without any international games. But I personally don't think it's going to affect them a lot. Just the starting 10 minutes, and after the start 10 minutes.
Just a quick question, will they be making another documentary of this tour with Rassie like they did with the World Cup?
Apparently they wanted to, but I'm not sure if they're going to do it anymore. I think it was on the rocks when I last looked.
What was the one called in South Africa? Was the
Chasing the Sun?
Yeah,
Catching the Sun.
Yes. Yeah.
Is it on YouTube? Because I watched the first one and I couldn't watch the other ones.
It's not on YouTube.
On Amazon Amazon, right?
Put this in your eye and start going to the sea like a pirate. You'll find it.
We're saying that. I think there will be some interesting comments. I think the off the field stuff is going to be some fun stuff to watch.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be some real games we're playing.
Yeah.
I think it depends. I read something about it also. It's because of the British National Lions. If they agree to divulge everything they have on the games and so on, and people who follow the Lions know they are very strict and close-minded about it. They like to sell their merchandise for themselves. They don't like to share.
Yeah, that's true.
So 3-0 again, right?
Yeah, 3-0.
Okay. Thanks for the three of you being here with me. Next week, I'll be AP Cronier will be here with me again, and with a former Emirates Lion player, Robbie Coetzee, who's going to speak about his life in the MLR, but he's going to speak also about the Springboks squad that's going to come out tomorrow at 1:00 in Europe, in Portugal, right?
Okay.
I think it's for later. I think it's about
It's
5
late.
o'clock.
Five,
Five.
so
Yeah.
six in South Africa, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna see who's gonna start for the Lions, and we're gonna be the 46 players coming for this British National Lions series. Thank you, Lucas Kramer, for coming here. Jose Rodriguez and
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
It was a
Thank you.
pleasure.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, Jose is
Always
playing
fun.
just to say to the people that saw us, Jose plays in Kudul in Portugal. He's an international player for Portugal. And now, the last time he played for the Sevens team. Björk is retired.
I'm
At
done,
the
man.
moment. At the
I'm
moment.
done. No, I'm done. Just say when you come to Brazil again and playing against Brazil, you let me know. We catch up.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Will do.
And Epic Cronier, you can follow him in Twitter. He has
Okay.
a lot of good posts and tweets.
No, I can see he's a journalist. Just the way he's talking. He talks very good.
And the
Nice to
press.
meet you guys.
Yeah, see you there.
Thank you, everybody. This was Up and Under. Follow us on our social media and stick with our tomorrow, because it's the semifinals in the second division at Portugal. It's going to be tight matches, but it's going to be a good one. Thank you, and see you
Nice.
next time.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, man. Bye-bye, guys.